Welcome to A Change is a Chance. My name is Ryan Lowe and I am a sixth grader at the Saklan School. I have been interviewing environment experts to teach the younger generation like me how to be more eco-friendly. Last episode, I interviewed Mr. Dennis Pombrian and he talked about his book, The Age of Sustainability. His book is about K-waves, which are economic peaks in global history. Our upcoming K-wave is The Age of Sustainability. He talked about all the K-waves and how we can contribute to this next one. The podcast is supposed to explore all issues that negatively impact our generation. And one of the issues that came to my attention was vaping. I found that 27.5% of the youth population regularly use e-cigarettes. This stat made me feel angry towards the device makers and motivated me to learn more. Vaping is not good for your lungs or your heart, but many people still do it. Someone who can help us learn more about the impacts of vaping is Dr. Victoria R. Howard. Dr. Victoria has a Doctor of Education and Master of Arts and is currently the Health Promotion Specialist at the American Lung Association in Northern California. Hi, Dr. Victoria. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Well, I hope you're staying healthy and safe.
Absolutely. I'm staying inside.
Yep. Being at home, I've had a lot of time to research these issues, like vaping, but I need an expert's input. Just how bad is the vaping epidemic, and what are some numbers you can share with us?
Well, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and the FDA label vaping as a national epidemic, especially in our youths, which is very, very important for us to address, vaping and youth use. The Lung Association and other studies, the FDA, they say that 39% of youths that smoke start because of the use of these e-cigarettes by their family and their friends. And then 31% begin smoking because of the flavors that they have, the manufacturers have created. Over 7,000 different flavors in these vaping jewels. And what's terribly unfortunate is most youth don't believe that it is harmful and that they're unaware that the nicotine used in these e-cigarettes can stunt their mental development as well as be very harmful to their lungs.
Wow, that's very concerning and surprising.
Yes, indeed, I agree with you. Let me share a little bit about what electronic cigarettes are. May I do that?
Yes, please.
Electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes are tobacco products that have been sold in the US for about a decade. These include e-pens, e-pipes, e-cigars, and the acronym is ENDS, E-N-D-S. They are electronic nicotine delivery systems. That's what a Juul is, an electronic nicotine delivery system. And the names kind of are unanimous in terms of Juuls or vapes or vape pens. They are interchangeable in terms of what these products are. And they're most commonly used tobacco products among kids, and it is an epidemic. Much research remains to be determined about the lasting health consequences of e-cigarettes. But the problem is they all contain nicotine, and nicotine is a very addictive element that gets kids and adults hooked on these products. So as a lung association, we're very concerned about this.
I thought I knew enough about Juuls and e-cigarettes, but clearly I don't. Thanks for teaching me more.
Sure, happy to.
Why do you think vaping has become such a problem amongst teens and even preteens?
You know, great question, Ryan. I think it's the advertisements that the kids see. They see it as cool. It's the technology generation. It's not the old-fashioned cigarettes. You know, it's these electronic delivery systems that you can plug into your laptop and recharge. It's the various flavors that really taste good. And that's why a lot of youths are getting into it. And it's influences from their friends.
Why don't more people understand that?
I think it's education. You know, there are so many different types of chemicals that can be found in these e-cigarettes. And kids are unaware of how dangerous nicotine is, how dangerous the other chemicals are. There's so many different types of chemicals, such as formaldehyde, which is known to cause cancer, acrolein, which is used as a weed killer and causes irreversible lung damage, and of course, the highly addictive drug nicotine. And so I think it's people are unaware of what they're really ingesting into their lungs. And even given today with our virus crisis, these e-cigarettes and cigarettes in general break down the health and strength of your lungs. So I think it's education, which is wonderful why you're giving this seminar.
I never knew how much toxicity was in Juuls and
Yes.
e-cigarettes. What motivated you to educate people on the topic of vaping and lung health?
Because the manufacturers are making money off of the health consequences of the youth. And youth don't recognize that they're being exploited and taken advantage of. So I think people can make their own decisions, but people need to make informed decisions, which means instead of taking for granted that the manufacturers say it's harmless, we need to educate the youth to really identify what they're really doing to their lungs and how we can help them make an informed decision. So that's how I got into it with the Lung Association.
That's very inspiring. What is an effective way for parents to get their kids to stop vaping or even try?
You know, thank you so much. The Lung Association on our website is lung.org, and there's a handout that all parents should look at, and it's entitled How to Talk to Your Kids About Vaping. And it talks to parents about what they need to know, and to educate the parents so that they can identify if there are any signs of vaping from their kids. Timing is important for parents to understand when it's a good time to talk to their kids about vaping, and good judgment. You know, talking to kids about, hey, does it make sense to put something in your body that's going to kill you? Yes or no? And then questions, the various type of questions that parents ask kids. It's important for parents to ask an open-ended question so kids can feel that they can really talk to their parents truthfully. So on our website, there are guidelines and suggested questions that would help parents discuss vaping and help the student make a decision that vaping is bad and not something that they want to get started with.
Could you tell us some of those questions?
Yes, sure. Some of them might be to ask the child, if a parent would ask a child what they know about vaping, what are the chemicals in vaping and what can those chemicals do? So if a student says, oh, I don't think there's any chemicals because it's just water vapor, then the parent can say, oh, that's not the case, and then share what chemicals are in the vaping that they're ingesting into their system. So questions like what is vaping? How do you think vaping affects your health? Do you think that long-term exposing your lungs to these cancerous chemicals can cause harm? So these are just various types of questions that parents can use to talk to their child, and teachers or other adults who are trying to help students better understand what these e-cigarettes are really doing.
I believe that will help a lot of people today.
Good.
What about my generation? How can we help our peers not get into vaping? How do we help end the cycle?
Oh, good question, Ryan. The more you know, the more you can share. The more you can share, the more people have the power to make their own decisions. So I would suggest students learning as much as they can. And also on our website, there is a handout for students who really want to know what's contained in the cigarettes, and to also recognize there is no government authority regulating this industry. So manufacturers can put anything they want into these cigarettes, and more specifically, promote them as being tasty, like bubble gum or cotton candy or apple pie, all of these flavors that kids want to try. So I would recommend each student really learning as much as they can about what they're doing and the impact these e-cigarettes have on their future.
Thank you. That'll help me a lot. What has the government done to discourage more kids from trying e-cigarettes?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Basically, the industry is not regulated, and therefore manufacturers can say and do whatever they want with these delivery systems. The Lung Association and several other nonprofit organizations have gotten together to actually sue the FDA, Federal Drug Administration, because they're not acting fast enough on trying to secure or stop the production of these units. Additionally, the Lung Association is trying to advocate various policies that would raise the age limit to 21 for smoking, selling these products, e-smoking, and advocate on, Capitol Hill for youth's best interest.
What more can the government do by themselves?
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of money in the purchase of these e-cigarettes, and the manufacturers use some of that money to encourage representatives to not act or to not make regulations that would limit the manufacturer's ability to sell the product. So there's a lot of political back and forth with sponsorships and monies and funds, but in my opinion, just as an individual, I would never want my child to have misrepresentation and then hurt their lungs and capacity in the future because the governments have not regulated the industry.
I find that very interesting that you say that. In all the times you have talked to people about the dangers of e-cigarettes, what have been some of the best stories you remember about people deciding to quit vaping?
Well, it's interesting. Once people learn that they're ingesting drugs that are similar to the drugs that, or the chemicals that come out of an exhaust pipe of a car, they're shocked. And so interestingly enough, once people recognize that they're ingesting nicotine, which is addictive, and so being addictive means that the nicotine is in control of the individual and their pocket and their money. That to me, I think, was a stimulus for a number of people to have a reality check, a shock that had caused them to decide, you know, I'm not going to let this control my life.
I'm relieved to hear that a lot of people quit because of it. Well, this is also informative, Dr. Victoria. I am sure that the listeners now realize that the key to discourage youth to take up vaping is to ask them open-ended questions, such as, what do they know about vaping? And for students, for them to learn more so they can educate their friends. Well, thank you, Dr. Victoria. It's been a pleasure working with you today. I am proud that there are people like you who are so dedicated to ensuring that adults and kids both live a clean, healthy lifestyle and understand why that's important. Well, that's the end of A Change of the Chance. See you next time.
Thank you.